Welcome back, guys. Thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of the Terrible Towel Tuesday pregame. Obviously, you know, on Terrible Towel Tuesday, we talk about what happened in the matchup. So I thought it'd be good for me to start doing pregames to, you know, give my thoughts on the upcoming matchup. So obviously, guys, this is a big week. We're facing off against the Baltimore Ravens. Both the Steelers and the Ravens are coming off of a loss. I would say tough and strange loss by both teams. You know, bad loss by the Steelers because the Steelers had opportunities to win the game. Terrible loss by the Baltimore Ravens because who would have thought that would have happened to them, you know, from the Jaguars. It's just strange. 44-7, nobody would have predicted that. So this is a very, you know, interesting game. It's in Baltimore, which is going to make it tough, definitely for the Steelers, you know, being in a hostile environment. Both teams would love to get a win, get a little separation in the division. And it's not the end of the world for either team. You know, if whoever loses, you're still 2-2. It's not the end of the world. You know, this is a long race, definitely a long way to go. So, you know, however it goes, it is what it is. It would be great to see the Steelers rebound against a divisional opponent and a team that they definitely know well, but we'll see. You know, it's still going to be a tough outing. So now let me just talk about a couple quick things here before I get into the pregame. A couple injuries to keep an eye on. TJ Watt, obviously, Stephon Tua, they're looking like they have the possibility to play, so keep an eye on that. You know, as of right now, we'll see how Fridays, you know, I'm doing this today here on Friday, but I haven't seen the practice report. So we'll see how that turns out later on in the day. Bud Dupree, he had a slight shoulder injury. I didn't really know much about that, so we'll see how that plays out. I think he's been limited. Probably seems like he's going to play. Jesse James also has a shoulder. Martavis Bryant, they said he hasn't practiced in 2 days due to illness, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Ramon Foster also missed time with a thumb. We know about that. We saw him get hurt in the Bears game, which means that Finney, BJ Finney, would be replacing him. Staying along those lines, Marcus Gilbert. They said that he was limited on Thursday as well, so we'll have to pay attention to today's practice report. But if he's unable to play, then we got Hubbard coming in. So we'll basically have the same line that we ended up playing with against the Bears. I don't know how happy I'm about that, but just want to pay attention to that. And then also, Mike Mitchell and Sean Davis were both limited. Mitchell still dealing with the hamstring. I think that's a lingering issue from, you know, training camp. And then we saw Sean Davis go down in the game. He has an ankle. They said they were limited, so I would expect those guys to play. But again, let's keep an eye on it. Also, we heard some news that Justin Hunter has been informed that he believes he's going to get a helmet this week. So I wonder whose place he takes. Is that DHB or is that somebody else? It's going to be interesting too to see what the final, you know, active roster will be going into the game. Now, here we are, guys. Going into the game, this is basically what the Steelers will need to do. The keys to victory is what they need to do offensively is, first of all, show up. All right? And actually, let me talk about that before I even go to the pregame. Didn't it make you a little sick looking at that game last night? The Packers and the Bears. Now, I understand that's a divisional game, a rivalry as well, so they know each other. But didn't you find yourself sometimes looking at that game and thinking, wow, there's no way that the Packers defense right now is that much better than the Pittsburgh Steelers against the run. And they were really shutting down the Bears' run for most of that game. The Bears had a couple successful runs later on, but didn't it just make you feel like disgusted? Like, come on. You know, poor technique and poor tackling. We know that's what happened with the Steelers. And I don't know, man. I even heard Keith Butler say, you know, maybe they're going to have to, well, not maybe, they're definitely going to do some things different. You know, he's kind of hinting towards maybe the run blitzing. We need to kind of relax on that and make sure guys maintain their gaps and things of that nature. But just kind of disgusted me a little bit. And looking at how Aaron Rodgers, of course he is Aaron Rodgers, I mean, a beast in my opinion. Probably one of the best, or if not the most talented from top to bottom quarterback right now with his threat to run, his accuracy, and all of that. And, you know, he just goes out there and shreds the Bears. And again, the Steelers' offense from top to bottom has more weapons. So it just disgusts me watching that. Like I said, I know divisional games are different, but still, the Steelers had no business not being able to put up some type of performance similar to what Green Bay did. Crazy, right? That's very crazy. But another thing I wanted to point out real quick as well, we found out now that Ben Roethlisberger said that Coach Tomlin, if we had won the toss in overtime, he instructed them to kick it. Now, people always want to blame the coaches for certain things. Now, to me, here's a thing that you can look at and say, I don't like that coaching decision. Whether you agree with him or not. I think I understand his logic behind it. You know, offense struggling a little bit, he thinks, and the defense was struggling. So, you know, it's kind of like tit for tat. But maybe he's thinking, give them the ball first. Let's stop them. We had been doing a better job in the second half with stopping them. You know, they were playing some sloppy offense in the second half. Give it to them first. We stop them. Then all we got to do is go down and kick a field goal. Maybe he didn't have confidence in the offense scoring a touchdown, especially seeing how the last two drives, last two offensive possessions we had didn't do anything. Maybe that's it. But I would have to disagree with kicking the ball off in overtime. You know, with an offense like what we had, I would always say give them the ball. Now, that is something, if you don't like Mike Tomlin or his decision making, that's something that you can pick on. What you can't, in my opinion, pick on is the fact that, oh, we lost because of Tomlin. No, we didn't. We lost because of bad tackling, bad discipline, and some of those defensive calls were crazy. Now, you know, again, we can blame coaches for making the wrong decisions, but the players got to execute. At the end of the day, they have to execute. So I can't blame a loss like that on Mike Tomlin. What I could, you know, disagree with or not like is perhaps, if that is true, that he preferred to kick off. And imagine if we would have kicked off, let's say we won the toss, because we kicked off anyway, because they won. But imagine if we did win the toss and gave them the ball and then they still scored, then that would have been, oh my goodness, then yeah, then I could hear people saying, oh, Tomlin lost the game. All right, moving past that. This is what we're going to have to do against the Ravens, man. We're going to have to offensively kind of come out with the same identity we had on Christmas Day last year. We're going to have to spread it out. You know, traditionally, the Baltimore Ravens, when they've been beating us for the last few years, is they stuff everything in the middle. They pack the box, and they're very aggressive, and it make it very hard for us to run. And my biggest beef with the Steelers is that we've always, you know, ran very predictable run plays. And excuse the air condition coming on there, you probably hear it. Very predictable, you know, lining up in jumbo and trying to run out of that set. No, you can't do that with a Baltimore Ravens defense. Spread them out like we did on Christmas Day. Le'Veon Bell was having some success. You know, put him in shotgun, put him in the pistol, something like that. And then outside of that, we're going to have to spread the ball around. I was happy to finally hear Ben Roethlisberger say, listen, I need to start going with what the defense is giving me. Yes, Ben. Yes. We've been asking you to do that. Stop locking in on Antonio Brown. The defense a lot of times is giving you stuff. You got to utilize that more. You have to. We're going to definitely have to do that against the Ravens because obviously you know they're going to be, paying attention to Antonio Brown. Martavis Bryant, if he plays, I'm assuming he will, but if he plays, of course, he's going to take some attention as well. So there's going to be some things underneath. The Ravens may give you certain things and then they feel that they'll be able to make the tackle, just like the Steelers do at times. So you're going to have to trust some of these other receivers. That's the first thing. We got to establish the run game like we did on Christmas Day last year. And I say you do that by spreading it out and running from those type of formations. You got to get the Ravens on their heels a little bit because their defense, though they gave up 44 points or lost to the Jaguars, it's still the Ravens defense. And we saw how opportunistic those guys have been the first 2 weeks of the season. So let's not kid ourselves and act like, oh, they're not that good now because the Jaguars was able to get off on them. It's still the Ravens and it's Ravens Steelers. Spread them out. Get what the defense is taking you. Be patient. Run the offense. And I think we have the capability with all of those weapons to move the ball and get in positions where we can score at times or kick field goals. Right? Defensively, very simple. Stop the run. Stop the run. If you look at the stats, the Ravens offense hasn't been potent. Joe Flacco hasn't really played that well. Make Flacco beat you. It's just that simple. Because one thing the Ravens can do, even though they are down one running back, One thing they can definitely do is run the outside zone, which is what killed the Steelers from the Bears. The Bears just ran outside zone left, outside zone right. All right? Stop the run game. Get more discipline. If you watched the game last night, and by the way, just as an aside, I like Tony Romo as an analyst. I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm loving Tony Romo right now. The way he breaks it down, you know, as a color commentary guy, I'm loving Tony Romo. He's already creeping up to being one of my favorites. I love the way he calls the game from his perspective, right? He said last night, look at what they're doing. Green Bay is bringing both safeties up. They're like 5 yards off the ball. This is how we should have played the Bears. We should have played the Bears the same way. You know, it was just too many times where they were in formations with too high, and I'm like, why? Make Mike Glennon beat you. Obviously, we all are seeing it. He hasn't been that great this year. Wasn't that great against us. Didn't look great against Green Bay last night. We should have made them beat us as well, and I think the Steelers could have edged out that win, even as sloppy as we played. But this is the same mentality we're going to have to take against the Ravens. Obviously, Joe Flacco, you would say, is better than Mike Glennon, in my opinion. They have some weapons. You know, of course, Mike Wallace, which we know what he's going to bring to the table. They got Perriman, which is, you know, up and coming. He's a big body, so he's going to cause some problems as well. And then they got Jeremy Maclin, and we'll see when Maclin shows up. But at the end of the day, their pass attack hasn't been potent this year. So stop the run and roll the dice with the pass attack. Make Joe Flacco beat you. Don't give anything up deep over the top, and, you know, make tackles. That's all we need to do. I think looking at both teams, I think, again, on paper, I think the Steelers have an opportunity to win, only because I think the Steelers' offense has the potential. I have to say that, because this explosive offense, I haven't seen it. I'm not confident in our offense right now. So I have to put the quote fingers up. This potential that we have is better than the Ravens' offensive potential. Defensively, I think both teams have the ability to play solid. So if it comes down to which team do you think will be able to crack and navigate the defense more, potential-wise, I would say the Steelers. But we're going to see. So that's what it's going to come down to, man. Quick and easy, very simple. If you can stop the run and force Flacco and those boys to be in passing situations more than not, of course you're going to give up some things. Let's not kid ourselves. You know, I know some Steelers fans think you're never supposed to give up a first down and never give up points. Listen, man, if you can hold any NFL team to under 20 points in a game, your defense has done well, in my opinion. So, you know, could the Steelers get a game like a 21-17? Possible. Look at last year. Now, I know the Ravens did lack a little bit. You know, the first game that we played in Baltimore, they relaxed a little bit and allowed the Steelers to, you know, get it competitive. It ended up being 21-14. But the Steelers were right in that game. You know, Artie Burns tries to go for the strip on that slant to Mike Wallace. Mike Mitchell takes a horrible angle, and Wallace still has the speed. You know, big play like that. Here's another thing, because it happened in that game. Special teams. The Ravens blocked the punt in that game. Steelers just got a field goal blocked against the Bears. So we're going to have to be sound on special teams, first and foremost. And then offensively, we got to open it up. Spread the ball around. Be very, very, you know, patient with it. And if we're going to run the ball, which we need to do, we have to make them honor that threat, because Le'Veon Bell hasn't had the same success so far this year. So if you can come out and establish that, then you got to make the Ravens honor the run again. Then start spreading it around. And then if there's a deep shot there at the right time, you take it. Got to do that. And defensively, we have to stop the run. Have to stop the run. Period. I think if you do that, it could be a very close game. And I'm going to be fair to the Ravens. It could go either way. Because I will say this. Coming into this season, I said that I think the Steelers could possibly be 3-1 after the first 4 weeks. Who did I say that I thought the loss could come from? The Ravens. I thought the Steelers had a great chance to win the first game against the Browns. That was close. I thought the Steelers had a good chance to win against the Vikings. Did a good job, but offensively still struggled. Then I thought the Steelers would go to Chicago and get that win on paper. We did not. So then I said, okay, that divisional game, week 4 in their place, we could lose that. Let's not kid ourselves, Steelers fans. The Ravens are a good team as well when they play the Steelers. Now we're in a situation where we don't win. You're 2-2, just that quick. You're on a 2-game losing streak, and the Ravens will be 3-1 in the division, and we'd be a game back. And they have the tiebreaker. So this has turned into a very important game. Whereas if we come into the game 3-0, and if we lose, the only thing they get is the tiebreaker. But then you still walk away from that 3-1. That's not bad. You know, you can see them again later. The Ravens also have more division wins right now. They're 2-0. We're 1-0. So this is a key matchup early. But like I said, if the Steelers were to lose, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to throw up and be ready to jump off of a bridge unless I see them play poorly. If it's a tightly contested game and the Ravens edge it out at home, you got to accept that. But either way, I'm looking to see how the Steelers rebound after that horrible performance back in Chicago. All right, so there you have it, guys. Those are my keys to victory. I would love you guys to share your thoughts in the comments as well. And hey, we'll see what happens this coming Sunday. All right, so that's going to do it, man. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Cut on your notifications so you're fully aware of a new video. And I promise, guys, it will never hurt you to hit that like button. All right, guys, until next time, peace.